Last week, Deacon Gary preached about his experience in the Holy Land and how he was so inspired by the holy sites. It called to mind my experience in the Holy Land as well. And yes, I was impressed by the Holy Sepulchre. I was impressed at the Sea of Galilee where Peter's mother-in-law would have hosted Jesus and all those holy sites. But it also got my mind to another thing I was impressed of when I was over there. I couldn't stop looking at the infrastructure of the Holy Land. I couldn't stop looking at the roads and the buildings and the ruins that have been there for all those many years. So I guess it shows that Deacon Gary is much holier than I am. He looked at holy sites and I looked at infrastructure. I guess there's something wrong there. But it was actually really impressive to look at, I think in particular, the roads there. There was a couple places where they had excavated a little bit more into the ruins, and you could see an old town of Galilee, an old town in the Holy Land. And you look at the road, and you can still see the cart paths that they would have been using 3,000 years ago. And of course, if you were to follow that road, they say if you follow that road all the way, it's actually a highway to Rome. All roads lead to Rome, and all roads come from Rome. And it was cool when I was in Rome as well. I could see, even then, you could see in the cobblestones. But it kind of got me thinking a little bit more, especially about this highway and how it was built. Of course, our readings today, and both the first reading and the gospel, talk about this. They talk about building highways, making straight the path. And so I thought, okay, let's do some highway research here. Let's research how is a highway made. So I Googled it, but I didn't want to read much. I guess I was a little tired. So I said, is there any video like how a highway is made? And sure enough, I ended up in YouTube, the black hole of YouTube, right? I think we've all been there before. And sure enough, I ran across a video of how a highway is made. And it was a video made in 1949. It was those old videos we used to watch in school with that classic voiceover of the guy showing the bulldozer. And here comes the bulldozer, which clears a bunch of land. But I couldn't stop watching. It was amazing, this 10-minute video. I'll post it on Facebook or something. It's a great video to watch. And I learned how a highway was made, especially in 1949. Now, of course, in 1949, we know the automobile is coming to its heyday. Everyone's getting one, and so they had to clear out better roads for people to use, not just gravel roads, but better roads. And so highways were being made all over the place, and inventions were being made as well. And so they kind of went through the process of how a highway is made. First and foremost, there has to be a surveyor, someone who goes out there and looks, where is the proper place for this route? And so they mark it with stakes. And then the next people that come in are the people that clear out the land. And they're using chainsaws, they're burning down trees, and this is a man-made thing to do. But following that, after they cleared a path, comes the bulldozer. And it really was cool to see a bulldozer in 1949. How basic it was, but they said, and this is the coolest part, this is where earth is moved. And it was. I mean, what kid does not like watching construction happen, right? I know even myself, when they were doing construction on Mill Street, moving the same pile of dirt for 2 weeks, I always watched, and I thought, why are they moving the same pile of dirt? Seriously, right? But of course, the bulldozer is things that moves the earth. And following this, of course, is a road grader, which is going to make it nice and smooth for the most part. But even then, they still would have backfilled with other things. And this is in 1949. This is when the man crew would come through, the man-made crew would come through, and they'd fill in and even out a little bit more. And then finally, of course, pouring the concrete and then putting in the guardrails. And then it'd fast forward to the video of the cars going down the highway, and the kids smiling in the back seat going, "Isn't this great, Dad? Let's go get the 5-cent hamburger." It was amazing. You know, the way we build a highway hasn't changed much, even all the way back to the time of Isaiah. Isaiah in our first reading says what? "In the desert prepare the way of the Lord. Make straight in the wasteland a highway for our God. Every valley shall be filled in. Every mountain and hill shall be made low. The rugged land shall be made a plain. The rough country a broad valley." When Jesus comes, we want to have this highway for the Lord. Sure enough, Mark chapter 1, verse 1. Mark tells us this whole premise of his gospel, the beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. saying, "This truly is the Messiah, the Son of God, whom we have been waiting for." And the next verse, chapter 1, verse 2 and 3. As it is written in Isaiah the prophet, "Behold, I am sending my messenger ahead of you. He will prepare your way, a voice of one crying out in the desert, prepare the way of the Lord, make straight his paths." Isaiah's prophecy is coming true. John the Baptist comes and says what? Prepare the way of the Lord, make straight his paths. And yes, he's preaching to the people of Israel of the time, but he's also preaching to us. What he is saying, make a highway for the Lord into your life. And it states people came and he was preaching a baptism of what? A baptism of repentance. People would go to the river, the Jordan River, and they would go and what? Be washed clean. And they'd say, "I want to renounce my sins." This baptism was signifying that they wanted to be washed clean for the coming of the Lord. They wanted to have a highway for the Lord to come into their life. You know, the same way that a highway is built, I believe that the sacraments work for us as well. It's in the sacrament of baptism that this highway for the Lord is actually put into our life. You see, that original sin is a mountain. It's blocking us from God. But God says, I'm going to take care of that. I'm going to bulldoze that out of the way with the incarnation. I'm going to bulldoze that out of the way with the nativity. I'm going to bulldoze that out of the way with the baptism, signifying that you are my chosen people. You are a royal race, and I want to give you my love. And he's clearing everything in the way. And sure enough, we look at the sacrament of the Eucharist as well. The Eucharist is that road grader, smoothing it out as well. But there's another important sacrament we have to use in our life, and that's the sacrament of confession. Because just like highways we heard about last week with 694 having a road blow, right? Having the water main break, sometimes construction has to happen. Sometimes we have to go and repair something that's broken. And that's what confession is. It's repairing this highway so that we may truly experience all of God's love. When we go to the sacrament of confession, what are we doing? We're clearing a path for God once again. And just like the surveyors and the highway crew, we need to survey our life and say, where am I blocking God in my life? Where has sin crept in? Where has this crept into my life so that I need to take care of this and experience what? His love, his peace, his kindness, as we heard in the responsorial psalm today as well. Yes, the sacrament of reconciliation is about the forgiveness of sins, but it's also about experiencing God's peace. It's about experiencing God's love. He wants to have a highway to our hearts, and we should have a highway to him with nothing blocking, so we may experience all of his love and all of his grace. And if you're anything like me, we've probably sinned more than once, more than twice, more than 1,000 times. What we need to do is go to the Lord and say, I'm sorry, and let him heal it. Let him fix that highway of his love. And it just so happens that this week is a perfect week to go to confession. On Thursday night, we're going to have a reconciliation service here from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Our students who have been preparing for First Reconciliation are going to come, but we invite everyone else to come as well. You know, I invited some priests to come, and I was having a hard time getting them to come, so I thought we might have 3 or 4 priests. It turns out we're actually going to have 6 or 7 priests. We're having more priests than I expected or I thought I needed, but they must know something I don't know. They must know that you're going to come to confession on Thursday night. They must know you're going to keep them busy. They must know that you're going to be here and have that highway for the Lord come into your life and experience all his love on Thursday night. Now, for some reason, Thursday night does not work for you from 6 to 8 o'clock. We offer confession here during the season of Advent, actually increase the times. So it's Tuesday from 4:30 to 5:20 p.m. Wednesday and Thursday from 7 to 7:50 a.m. Please come see me at 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning. Otherwise, I might fall asleep, all right? So Wednesday and Thursday, 7 to 7:50 a.m. Friday from 8 to 8:50 a.m. And Saturday from 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. and 3:15 to 4:30 p.m. So if you go to someone and say, oh, I tried to make a confession, but I didn't have time during Advent, you're lying. So that means you have to go to confession as well, all right? There's plenty of time to go to confession. Why do I offer confession so much? Why? Not because we're horrible people. That's not why. But that I want you to experience all that God desires to give you. I want you to experience His love, His peace, His kindness, His grace. As your pastor, as your spiritual father, this is what I desire. When we do this, when we go to confession, we leave, our prayer will never be better because there's nothing blocking us. And don't we want to experience this? Yes. Yes, we do. And so, my brothers and sisters, go to this great sacrament of confession. Experience His love, experience His grace, and let the highway of God's love come into your heart.